Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. I got up this morning and said, you know what, I want to record the show right after lunch. And then all you know what broke loose is Mississippi State made a huge run on some portal commitments. We'll break all that down in our first segment of the show. And I got a cool top 10 list for you too. Kind of working behind the scenes here. We'll kind of profile a music producer that has been involved with some of your favorite songs, but I worked in some other stuff you may not be quite as familiar with. We'll talk a little basketball, and we'll close out the show with some baseball. How about that? Man, we love talking baseball on this show. And I know you guys are so incredibly excited because, let's be honest, it was a bad weekend of basketball on both sides. It was. But I kind of kicked the hornet's nest this weekend too, because maybe I take things too seriously, or maybe you don't take them seriously enough, right? I guess we could meet somewhere in the middle. But I do not like people speaking negatively about Mississippi State. I don't even like it when our people do it, but you know what? You kind of expect some of that, right? Because you're emotionally invested, right? You've kind of earned the right to be critical. You know, when you've given the NIL, you bought the cowbell, you buy season tickets. I mean, you're invested, right? And so you expect some of that. And of course, we have a self-loathing segment of our fan base, and everybody does, but it does seem like we've got a little more than we need. But I don't like it when somebody outside the family starts taking our inventory. I don't like it. I'm not going to mention anybody's names or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you. I'm going to break down kind of real quickly before we get into our first ad break. One of the things that irritates me about so much of this, and there's so many people, we're going to talk about some narcissistic behavior that's really narcissistic. And, because like if you get on Facebook, everybody's a narcissist, and every guy that every girl's ever dated that it didn't work out, well, he was a narcissist. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But everybody couldn't have been narcissists. Not all of us, right? If we're all narcissists, then there's no such thing as narcissist. There's just human beings, right? So I mean, I don't want to chase that rabbit trail long. So be careful with all that. Everybody gets these labels out here, and they start throwing these labels around, not knowing what they're talking about because they think it makes them sound intelligent, and they don't. They sound ridiculous. But this is some real narcissistic behavior. So this guy was out here, running his mouth. Of course, he's an Ole Miss guy. And listen, I'm not going to judge all Ole Miss people based on the actions of one person, okay? Right? I do think there's a higher percentage of people that I can't really associate with, and obviously I have some history that maybe you don't. So I'm not in any way like condemning all Ole Miss people when I say this, but it's just that little lunatic fringe. And we've got some of that too in our fan base, but it just kind of irritates me because, outside of my family, outside of my faith, Mississippi State's my life, right? I mean, I make my living covering Mississippi State. I'm incredibly invested emotionally in Mississippi State. My entire livelihood is based on the success of Mississippi State and your interest therein. And so in many respects, maybe I shouldn't be this way, but I am, and I don't think I'm going to change at this late stage in life. When somebody speaks negatively about Mississippi State, I take it personal. I do. And maybe too personal. But I take it personal, and I feel the need to defend Mississippi State, our university, our students, our players, our coaches, our administrators. I feel like that's part of the gig. And so this guy put some craziness out there about, being critical of our fans for not pulling for Ole Miss in a playoff. I got some breaking news for you, pal. We don't like you guys. Okay? Now we got some friends, all of us do. We got some friends and family that cheer for the other side, and we love them. We do. We just don't really talk sports with them that often. Right? And that's okay. And you know what? There were tens of thousands of Ole Miss people rooting against us in that ball game against Wake Forest, including this guy that was so hypocritical about all of us. So there was all of this, hey, I love the great state of Mississippi, and we all should just hold hands and sing Kumbaya. put on a magnolia bloom or something, something lame like that. And, man, you guys are wrong for rooting against us. No, we're not. We're not wrong. We're not wrong. And you know what? When you guys root against us, you're not wrong either. That's why they call it a rivalry. Well, I just don't understand. You're stupid. You're dumb if you don't understand it. And you know what? Hey, we got some people within our fan base who are like, hey, I'd like to see that. I don't agree with them, but I respect their right to feel that way. But don't expect all of us to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with us because we want you to lose. And we start talking about these labels that people don't seem to understand. Apparently, rivalry is one of them. I read one guy, I think it was on Gene's page. I think it was. It may have been on Facebook. And if I knew the name, I'd give him credit. But everybody's talking about, you know how it is. You go over the top. And it's like, well, I wouldn't cheer for him against this, or I wouldn't cheer for him against the communists. This guy says, he goes, if it was up to me, Ole Miss would never get a first down. And I thought that's about as clean as you can cut it right there, right? So, no, you don't need to feel guilty. And I'm going to tell you this, we sure don't need any lectures from Ole Miss people on how to act, right? You support your school, we'll support ours. And you know what? There's a huge segment of our fan base that roots against you in every game. And there's a big part of your fan base that feels the same way. We're just maybe a little more honest about it, right? And it's just like when I made the comments about it on Facebook, I had some Ole Miss people that came in there and he's like, hey, Steve, I kind of agree with you. I don't want you guys to ever win. And you know what? I love that. Own it, man. Own it. Don't give me all this passive-aggressive, half-handed, oh, man, yeah, what are you scared of? Right? What are they going to do to you? You don't need to be made to feel guilty for rooting against our rival. That's the last I'm going to say about it, but it is absolutely amazing to me that so many people root against our own self-interest. Do you not understand? I mean, honest to goodness, Ole Miss had a great season. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Lane Kiffin and that staff did an amazing job putting that roster together. And, hey, the greatest football season, arguably, in the history of the state of Mississippi. And yes, I include those national championships that Ole Miss claims. It's a great Ole Miss team. And to say otherwise would be disingenuous. It is a great team. And I think all of us have said that. I think we've admitted it. Hey, man, they're light years ahead of us right now. They've done a great job. And that's about as far as I'm going to take it. Right? I mean, that's the thing you need to understand. We respect the fact that you guys had a great team. But don't sit here and say we ought to be cheering for you. You kidding me? I didn't know that our support was that valuable. That's one thing that I brought up some other people too. And one state guy got really upset with me. Started sending me all these hateful messages and all that kind of, I don't even know who the guy is. It's like, why are you so invested in that? Right? We're supposed to be family. We don't always have to agree, but sure as hell don't send me these stupid messages. What's wrong with you? But maybe, just maybe, since our support is so valuable, maybe it's our fault they lost. Right? Maybe if more of you would have cheered from home, your television would have absorbed that energy. But you would have had to really mean it, right? And then that TV, through the magic of satellite television, could then take those good vibes and rest them at the Fiesta Bowl on that Ole Miss team. They would have felt you guys. They would have felt you. And they would have somehow won that game. And you know what? You know what happened on that last drive in the final minute? When the quarterback took it and scrambled and made it into the end zone, had the game-winning touchdown, it's your fault. It's your fault, Mississippi State people. It's your fault. It's not Ole Miss's fault. It's not Pete Golding's fault. It's not the players' fault. It's not just the nature of the game. It is your fault because you didn't root for Ole Miss in that game. Do you see how stupid that is? How incredibly dumb that is. It doesn't matter who you pull for. It doesn't make any difference. You're sitting at home watching the game on your couch. You think you got some type of control over a sporting event because of who? I mean, my gosh. What has happened? I am going to be sick. Somebody let me off the ride. All right, let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. Man, we love them. We do. We love them. You can go in there and watch a ball game. You can have a beer. You can go in there for a family night or perhaps a work lunch with colleagues. Very conveniently located right here in the Cotton District in the great city of Starkville, Mississippi, and also on Lake Harbor Road there in the Ridge and Flowwood area, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo. 3 great locations to serve you. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. And as I've shared with you so many times, the Eat With Us group has been there when we've needed them. We've celebrated there with them. Whether it be a big Bulldog win or perhaps a big family event, they've been there when we've needed them, and we should always support local business. Find your own favorites there. You know, mine's the Pimentology ad bacon. I think it's fantastic. I may get one this week now that I think about it. Get that chocolate shake to go. You can ride that ride home with a smile. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's get caught up on the portal. It's been a wild day, man. It has been a wild day. All right, so let me catch you up to date. Many of you have been busy, and maybe you hadn't checked your social media feeds. You did. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what you got going on. I just hope you're doing it well. All right, so now we're up to 18 transfer ins. We got 34 transfer outs. Right now, we're not going to take the same number because you got a big class and you got some guys coming back. And of course, big news today too is Anthony Evans announces his return to Mississippi State. And quite honestly, he was the last one I was worried about. Yeah. All right. So let me see if I can't get you up to speed here. Since we've been together, we'll just start at the bottom and run it back. Okay. Riley Williams, a tight end for Oregon State, played first 2 years at Miami, had a couple good years. He goes to Oregon State. He's from Portland, Oregon, so he goes home, gets up there, and has a torn labrum. And while he's in the process of preparing for labrum surgery, he has a ruptured appendix. So then they have to put the labrum surgery off, deal with appendicitis, kind of get him back to good health and where he could have surgery again. And now he'll be good to go. He'll be good to go. He's transferring down here. And, of course, you know, State needed to make some changes in the tight end room. We like Sam West. We like Joseph Skipworth. And Sadu obviously is out of eligibility. Guess some other guys didn't contribute a whole lot. Wish them the best their next stop. But Riley Williams is kind of more in line, 6'5", 273-pound tight end. I like that a lot. And that's one thing about Sadu. You know, he was more of a pass-catching tight end. At times, he'd make some good blocks for you, too. But, you know, Riley Williams at times can be a threat in the pass pattern, but he can also kind of serve as kind of an extra tackle out there for you. All right, Gus Cordova. I don't know that our fans are talking about him enough. Transferred in from USC, 6'4", 270. You look at his picture, his profile pic, you'd never know it, right? And this is a guy that I think Zach Arnett is going to be like a mad scientist with. This guy can play all up and down the line. He'll basically will play some 5-tech, kind of like the old Jaden Crumedy spot. But he's big enough, athletic enough to handle that. Might even be more athletic than Jaden was. But Gus had 60-something offers out of high school. He was a consensus, well, he's a 247 composite 4-star. 247 didn't like him quite as much as some others. But I tell you what, you watch this kid's tape, he will light you up. He will change your oil for you. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. All right, let's get a little closer here. You guys knew about the Mario Nash stuff, right? Mario Nash committed to State and then didn't sign and was going to take an official visit to LSU, which I think in some ways validates Mississippi State's interest in Mario Nash. Now, I don't expect him to start next year. I think he's probably a 2-deeper next year. But Mario's another big physical guy, 6'4", 285 pounds. And the fact that Lane Kiffin and LSU wanted him, that should stand for something, right? They were trying to get him to, hey, don't sign with State, come see us first. Well, give Mississippi State some credit. State got that squashed and got him to sign anyway. Of course, Mario is from Kemper County, just down the road. I like the kid a lot, and I was very disappointed when he flipped to Florida State last year. But it's a good addition. It's not going to make you immediately better this year. It's just kind of replacing maybe some offensive linemen that didn't develop the way we'd hoped. And so you put him in the developmental pipeline, and then maybe he's a starter next year. Maybe that's the case. One of the new guys from the day, and I love talking to this guy. That's one thing that I'll say about these guys that Jeff Levy has signed for the most part, is they have been guys that can communicate. Yeah, you love guys that can communicate and make some things happen. And that was the case here with Kendall Dolby. This guy can really, really play some football. Now, the bad thing is, and there's always a thing, right? So Kendall Dolby against Tennessee in 2024, and I don't know that they labeled it a dislocated ankle, but they dubbed it a severely, I guess it was dislocated, maybe not displaced, but dislocated ankle. And it was so bad that it required season-ending surgery. He worked in rehab, tried to get back, wasn't quite 100% early in the year, only played a little bit. And so he's got one more year left. Going to be here. Knows Jeff Lebby well. Lebby was there when he first got to Oklahoma. But, man, you go watch this guy's tape. This guy will, like, light sparks off of your body. Huge physical safety. 5'11", 195 pounds. And if he's 195, I don't want to step on that scale. I mean, this guy's put together. And, again, I think you're going to like him. We talked about Jamrock Grizzly the other day, transferring from Florida. But earlier today we got I kind of teased last night. We got a couple offensive linemen we're expecting. And, of course, we get them. The first one of the morning was Isaiah Dent. You know him better as Isaiah Autry, going by his father, Marcus Dent's last name now. And Isaiah, another guy that may actually be able to get a medical red shirt once he's done for last year. Redshirted his first year there. And, redshirted his first year there. And then we got some news coming in here. Let me see what this is about. No, it's just somebody going in the portal. All right. But, we just never really got anywhere with Isaiah when he was coming out of Itawamba Agricultural High School. And he was a teammate of Isaac Smith for a while, but we just never could get any traction with him. We tried, didn't work out. Well, we got him this time. And, again, 6'8", 330 pounds. That's a massive human being. But kind of like Nash, I think he's probably a year away. Okay, so probably doesn't make you better this year, but you feel good about having him in your program. And he'll get the chance to cut his teeth a little bit. You say, well, Steve, you keep talking about these linemen. Where are the starters coming from? Well, I got a couple of them for you right here. DJ Chester from LSU. Had to play out of position a little bit this year. 6'6", 315 pounds. Spoke to him briefly earlier today. He's really excited. Going to be an interior guy. I guess he could be a right tackle. He's not a left tackle. He just doesn't have the footwork to be a left tackle. But considering at times how we got shoved around on the interior this year, you need a guy like him. Big, massive, low center of gravity guy. Could be a center, could be play either guard spot. And then we've talked about LJ Prudhomme. LJ was expected to start at Arkansas next year. And then the offensive line coach from Arkansas, that was with Sam Pittman, went to Wisconsin. So we had to beat Wisconsin and his previous offensive line coach to get him. And so those guys are probably starting guards next year, I would think. So there's a couple of guys right there that make you better next year. And we talked about Jalen Matthews the other day. I had somebody else tell me this guy looks like what you'd want an offensive lineman to look like, 6'6", 350 pounds. Got a ton of potential, just doesn't have production, right? So we got a mix of that. Zion Reagans. Now, a guy that Jeff Lebby knows, more of a diminutive wide receiver, shall we say, kind of a Kevin Prentice type. That's probably a good player comp. 5'8", 153 pounds. Runs a 10-3, 100-yard dash. Faster than Brennan Thompson. Now, last year in the spring, he had a calf injury that turned into compartment syndrome. And if you don't know much about that, just Google it. But basically, it's a difficult thing to come back from in a short period of time. He's good to go now, but he didn't get to play much last year. Had a really good freshman year. I say really good. He played a lot. Had about 10 catches. But he is one of these speed merchants that Jeff Lebby likes to have within this offense, because you can run this guy out there on the post, pair him up with a safety, and there's just no chance. But you put him in the slot, and I think there's a lot of nickels that would struggle to run with him. And so you talk about, the explosiveness that Brennan Thompson brought to this offense. You're going to have that with Zion Reagans. And another great young man. That's I can't sell that enough. Talking to these young men, you can tell they're bought into what Jeff Lebby's vision is, and you can tell that they made good decisions and they're happy with those decisions. And I think we're going to have a really good year when it comes to press conferences next year. I hope they're winning press conferences. But you got some young men that appear to have a good head on their shoulders. I did speak to Jordan Gilbert today, too, and we weren't quite ready to do an interview. He had to get some things kind of cleared up. But Jordan Gilbert, originally out of White Castle, Louisiana. This is another guy, too, more of a box safety, okay? More of a box safety. So over the top, too high safety look, maybe not his strong suit. But as far as a guy that can get downhill and to make some plays for you, that's him. Transferring in from LSU. And again, we talk about this, and I don't know that you guys are making a big enough deal about this, and I'm going to write about this tomorrow. But you got 18 transfers, right? 18. And you ought to feel pretty good about that number. And we started the week, last week, or I guess it was Marquise Johnson was the first. But, of these 18 transfers, 16 of them are from Power 4 conferences. Yeah, 16. And that was one of the criticisms you guys had last year. It's like, hey, we're taking all these G5 guys. We got to get some Power 5, Power 4 bodies and talents, even if they're not necessarily as ultra productive. Brennan Thompson wasn't ultra productive at Oklahoma. And then he comes in, and because Jeff Lebby knows how to use him, he sets a school record for single-season receiving yards. All right, so let's give the coaching staff a little bit of credit there. Will Whitson also, big news today too, Will Whitson has received clearance for his waiver. So now it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of yes. And we're waiting now to hear about Cannon Boone. That one is pretty straightforward as well. People forget, Cannon Boone tore his ACL as a freshman and then had season-ending surgery last year. So there's a case to be made for him. Maybe not as definitive as Will Whitson, but still a case to be made. And so I think we get him back. And, of course, Cannon had some moments this year where he was really good and some others where he didn't. But he hadn't played a lot of football in college. But everybody said in fall camp the most improved lineman on his team is probably Cannon Boone. And so you get him back and you start thinking about putting Chester and Prudhomme on each side of him. And then we'll see what we do with Blake Steen. Do we slide him inside? Do we keep him at right tackle? He'll be healthy and good to go. And you got to have some of these younger guys to back him up. But we desperately need a left tackle. Desperately need a left tackle. So I feel good about what we have. But again, there's still some things you got to fix. We got to get probably another kind of an inside guy. Maybe he's a shade or a one tech. You got to have a guy that can play inside in a three-man front to kind of eat space up. I mean, you got Calvin Dinkins there, but and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way to Dink. I love Dink to death. But you got to go out and recruit over him, right? You need Dink to be the second guy in that rotation. All right, kind of running back here too, just to kind of look at some things too, some other developments since we have been together. Former Bulldog defensive lineman Kedrick Bangui-Jones has signed with Alabama. Yep. Kobe Keenum with Memphis. We talked about Luke Work going to Missouri the other day. Cyrus Reyes, remember him? We flipped him from Memphis. He's going to Kentucky. And congratulations to him. Another great young man, for sure. Cam Ball, former tight end at State, headed to West Virginia. And maybe you guys saw Jimothy Lewis went to Cal. Jimothy, of course, a lot of people were projecting him to Alabama. And he's going to Cal. And what's interesting about that, too, is Jimothy Lewis was projected to go to Alabama. And, of course, DJ Chester left us and went to Alabama. And South Carolina was also in the mix a little bit. So if we're going to always be critical of guys visiting State and not committing, what does that say about Kalen DeBoer in Alabama when two offensive linemen connected to Mississippi State end up going elsewhere? DJ Chester, of course, comes from LSU to State, and then Jimothy Lewis goes to Cal. So Bama didn't get either one of them. Are we going to judge them as harshly as we judge ourselves? I say yes. The reality of it is not everybody that visits is going to be a take. You get there, you get the eye test, you got to see, one of the things I don't think you guys get is when those guys come in, we watch film with them. Like the coaches sit down and go through film, see if they can pick out coverages, how can they break down film and see what formations and tendencies guys are doing to kind of see what their football IQ is. We've had some guys over the years that they'll get in there and like, hey, you know them and you want them, but you don't realize they'll go into that meeting and just have no clue what they're talking about. They'll go in there and it's like, man, we got this kid for 1 year. I can't teach him 5 years of football in 6 months. And so you move on, right? And you let him go find a place where he can play. Because if you bring that guy in, it's no better than what you had. In fact, it's probably lesser than. Because at least the guys you've had have had the benefit of your coaching for a year or two. You go grab some guy at the portal, you got to get in the spring and explain to him what this is and what that is, what his keys are. He's supposed to be a veteran guy. You expect to do that with your freshmen. You don't expect to do that with fifth-year seniors. Max Reese transferred into us last year. He's now headed to North Texas. So you're starting to see some Bulldogs out there that finding a new home. And listen, we wish those guys all the best. We do. There's never any beef when somebody leaves for more playing time, right? We talk about it all the time. You only get a short time in life to play sports, and you don't want to do it sitting on somebody's bench. And if you can't play here, you need to go somewhere you can, whether that be Southern Miss or Memphis or Jackson State or wherever. Go make yourself some memories, get on the field, and get some benefit of your hard work. Because the reality of it is not everybody's good enough to play in the SEC. And at some point, you get here, and you begin to kind of realize that, you know what, hey, I might be out of my depth here. It's not always about work, right? Because no matter how talented you are, you got to work. But sometimes you can work and work and work, and you got some physical limitations. You're just guys that are just more naturally gifted than you, right? That's not an excuse. It's just the reality of life. And so maybe you need to go get in another pond out there where you can compete and swim and feel good about life. So we wish those guys the best. We'll keep you updated as best we can. Obviously, come join us over at genespage.com. But even if you're not a member, you can go to the front of Gene's page and go to the football recruiting tab. And there's a little drop-down menu there. You just put your cursor over football recruiting. And there's several options there. But the bottom right one is the transfer portal. And you can click on that, and it'll automatically bring up what's happened in connection with Mississippi State this portal recruiting season. Okay, so that's free for all users. You don't have to be a member. So if you ever just think, hey, well, where did so-and-so go? Instead of you having to Google everything, that's an easy reference for you. And you just write on over there. Again, right at the very top of the page where it says Gene's page, it'll say news, boards, football recruiting. Go to the football recruiting tab and just put your cursor over that little arrow and then go all the way down to the bottom right-hand side, and you can see all the incoming transfers, all the outgoing transfers, and where the Bulldogs who've left the program have landed. So I know many of you want to keep up with that because you're like me. You wish them well. It's time for our Close with Blair Player of the Day. Blair Chandler. Yeah, our buddy at Close with Blair. Recently got back from Italy. Had his honeymoon over there. I assume he's back. I hadn't talked to him. Maybe busy. Maybe newlywed busy. You know what I'm saying? But Blair is our buddy. 25 years of experience in the mortgage lending industry. Nobody stays in a meat grinder of an industry like that for very long unless they know what they're doing. And Blair's been doing it for 2.5 decades. His phone number, 601-500-2344. 601-500-2344. Save that number in your phone as Mortgage Guy. Just make it simple. What was that guy's name? Don't worry about it. Blair's not going to be offended. And that's his personal cell number. You can call or text him direct. Instead of having to go through a call center or wait on some receptionist to deliver your message, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. You go directly to the source. So whether you're looking for your first home, your next home, or your retirement home, the only name to know is Blair Chandler at closeatblair.com. He's a Bulldog through and through, rides a wave of emotion just like you and I do, season ticket holder in multiple sports, has a place here in town. But you don't have to be a Bulldog to do business with him. You can be a Rebel and listen to this show. You can be a Golden Eagle. You can be whatever. Listen to this show, and Blair Chandler is happy to work with you. I want you to have the dream of home ownership come true for you. So be sure and check out Blair Chandler at closeofblair.com. Okay, our player of the day. It's tough to pick a player on a losing team. My feelings. Maybe yours are different. And so I'm going to do something maybe a little bit unorthodox here. Okay? I'm going to give you a transfer that maybe nobody's talking about. And I think some of it is because they just haven't done their research. Like, you get laser focused on guys. Your player of the day is going to be Amari Williams out of Florida State, transferred to State. This is State's highest rated transfer for good reason. Now, at Florida State, they had him playing tight end and edge. Like, in every practice, he would do a little bit of both. He's just going to be an edge here, and he's the only one of the transfers that I haven't spoken with. We'll try to knock these other interviews out for you in the next few days. We'll do our best. But sometimes the transfer guys don't want to talk, but we've interviewed 15 of the 18, and you can find those also for free over at genespage.com, but and on my social media feed too. So I share that with you just because it's important to understand. But Amari Williams, I expect him to be a difference maker for us. 6'4", 240-pounder, right at that. This guy's an explosive athlete. And a lot of people get hung up on other names, right? And you start thinking, this would be great. And then you kind of talk yourself kind of into a confirmation bias. You think, oh, yeah, this has got to be the guy. And then it turns out that maybe Mississippi State didn't push on him. Or maybe that guy just didn't like it here. Or maybe somebody paid him more money. It's not always somebody's fault. And a lot of people act like, well, we should never get outbid. Well, we're going to get outbid. And some of that is because we have a budget. And we have some limitations. That's not to say we're broke. We're going to put tens of millions of dollars in this football roster, okay? But we're not going to go out there and overpay a guy just to satisfy some people on social media. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to make a lot of sense. Amari Williams has the opportunity to be a dude at Mississippi State. So he is your Close with Blair player of the day. All right, time for today's top 10 list. As always, brought to you by Kalido Guitars. That's Calido Guitars.com, Kalido Guitars. Man, we love them. And I've got gear from them. It's the best gear I've ever had. And I'm so proud of it, right? You work so hard. You put up with so much nonsense, right? I mean, it's like sometimes you feel like all you do is work to pay bills. I've been in that situation before. And goodness, we just opened a new business 2 years ago. There's some months I live like a college kid, you know, especially in the beginning. It's been much better this year. But sometimes you got to treat yourself. Sometimes you got to reward yourself for all the work you put in. You deserve it. Now, I'm not saying go be haphazard about it. You know, maybe you need to set some money aside, but maybe you got some money in the bank and you think, you know what, I've always wanted to learn to play guitar. Well, you can get a starter guitar at Kalido Guitars, a name brand instrument at a discounted price, just to get started. So you can get going and see if you like it without making a big investment. And as you begin to improve in skill level, you want to upgrade your gear. Because once you learn the basics, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be amazed at how much better it sounds on a better instrument. That's not my rule. It's just nature's rule. It's how things work. So maybe buy a beginner guitar, work your way up, and maybe eventually get you a pro grade guitar. Now, some of you are like, Steve, I don't need a beginner guitar. I'm a seasoned player. Well, you know what? Then Kalido Guitars is going to make you even happier, because they've got name brand instruments at a discounted price. And by listening to this show, you get a bigger discount. Promo code BSR. You know it well. We kept it simple for you. I didn't want you having to go write down on these promo codes. We just try to keep it simple. Promo code BSR gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. And that's posted on the website. That gets you free shipping. That gets you no sales tax unless you live in the state of Texas. And they're going to make a 5% donation to the Bulldog Excellence Fund based on your purchase price. It's a win-win-win, right? They win, you win, Mississippi State wins. And when Mississippi State wins, we all win, right? So stop by and see them at their expansive showroom down at Lake Jackson, Texas. Next time you're in the greater Houston area, maybe carve out a little time to go take the scenic route and go check out that beautiful showroom. Or you can use that promo code over the phone. You can use the promo code online. They're happy to deal with you. This is a Mississippi State owned and operated guitar shop. They specialize in guitars, but they carry other string instruments as well. When you need a banjo, ukulele, anything like that, you can find it. Gig bags, cases, anything. to be a better player you can find at Colito Guitars. The only thing that they can't sell you is the time, right? You got to make the time. They'll take care of everything else. ColitoGuitars.com. All right. Kind of got down the rabbit hole a little bit earlier. And Bo Hill was a great producer in the 80s. And he has worked with some iconic acts. He's worked with some up-and-comers. And basically, Bo has kind of been like that starter house, right? So whether it be Chrysalis Records, or I think he was with Interscope for a while. He was with Jimmy Iovine for a while. But anyway, he was like the guy when you had these up-and-coming rock bands that they gave him over to Bo. And now Bo's still working through that all these years later. His first discovery was a band called Airborne that had a little moderate success. But so we're going to start with some bands that maybe you aren't quite as familiar with, and then we're going to end up with a American icon. Okay? Number 10 is a band called Streets. And they had an album called Crimes in Mind. And I think it's a song that you're going to kind of check out, you're going to like. And it's very 80s, okay? It's kind of like a little bit, it's kind of Survivor-ish, maybe. It may be a little bit of a stretch, but it's kind of in that same vein. Number 9, and I like this band. You may not, but I like them because you can tell they don't take themselves too seriously. They're not like a traditional rock band. They're a little more punk. And if you like that sort of thing, I think you're going to dig this one. The album has Bad Reputation. The band is Dirty White Boy, and we're going to go with Let's Spend Mama's Money is your number 9 song. I mean, just the title itself just kind of invites you in, right? That title track's good too, but Let's Spend Mama's Money is fun. Number 8, and I love this. I sent this to my buddy Blake, who listens to the show, and he's also the drummer in a little music project that we've got that we need to get some time to go work on. It's a band called Murder FM, and they sound a lot like early Marilyn Manson. And if you like that, I think this is a band for you. The track is called We the Evil. Now, there's also a remix deeper in the album that's remixed by the great Tommy Lee of Motley Crue. So there's a little bit of a shout out to T. Lee. But Murder FM's We the Evil. And so if you like that kind of hyper-industrial sound, this may be a band you want to check out. Number 7, and I love these guys, and you guys did too, and none of us bought this album. Everybody ran out and got the Final Countdown, and then we followed it up, and the album with Superstitious. I can't remember the album, but anyway, they had back-to-back big albums, and then this one was a bit of a disappointment. And it's just one of those things, too, you begin to think about, like, Joey Tempest and those guys, great-looking band, ultra-talented band, but, it kind of got old pretty quick, right? They didn't have a lot of range. And I submit to you, too, Superstitious is one of the best songs of the 1980s. I love that song. I love the harmony. I love the message behind it. I think it's great. And I think a lot of people all they think about is Final Countdown. Carrie, Cherokee, that kind of stuff. But the 5th album is called Prisoners in Paradise. The title track is pretty good, but I'm going to go with a different one. It's called I'll Cry for You. No, that's not the Jodeci version. Europe's version. I think, again, there's some filler on this album, and Key Marcello, this was his last run with them as the guitar player. And if you know Europe, you know how great Key Marcello was, and what a great name. All right, number 6, I may have this one a little bit too low. But by the time I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Maybe this will give me a chance right here in the meaty part of this list to talk about this. But Bo Hill produced the first 2 albums from Warrant. I don't think he did Doggy Dog. I had to go back and double check. But he did the debut album, and he did Cherry Pie. We're going to go back to the debut album. We've done Cherry Pie several times. And as you guys, those of you that know me, know that I have Down Boys tattooed on my knuckles. Because it allows me the opportunity to talk about a conversation I had with Jandy Lane years ago about recovery when he was kind of new in recovery. It's a very sad story. I'm not going to recount it for you now. But anytime that I get a little bit down in the mouth or something, I'll remember that, and I put that song on. And it makes me a little sad, but it also, too, makes me realize, you know what, that there are a lot of people that love that band, love that guy, and love that song. And so I put it on my knuckles, and somebody said, well, why did you do that? I said, well, now we have a club. Now we have a club. Number 5. I like this band a lot, and I don't know that they got enough credit. Like a lot of people say, well, Tesla was underrated. Well, if you underrated Tesla in the 80s, then you're an idiot. Tesla's one of the best rock bands that have come out in the last 50 years. They're incredible. You put on their albums, man, there's not hardly any filler, especially those first 6 albums. They're great. They're great. Now, what happened with Tesla is they never really reached headlining status, despite the fact they sold millions of records. Put on a great live show. The bride and I saw them at the Ryman a couple Valentine's days ago. I guess I say couple. I guess maybe it was about 10. Now to think about it. And they were amazing. Amazing. I've met Jeff Keith before and didn't get to talk to him that night, but I remember him saying they had taken a little bit of a break, and he goes, man, the ghost of Hank Williams is telling me to get my butt back out of here. But the band kicks. If you've never listened to the album Blow My Fuse, you owe it to yourself. Next time you're traveling kind of by yourself and you're just like tired of your playlist and you like 80s rock, put on that album from start to finish. Just put it on. Every song sounds like a single. But before these guys really found their notoriety with Blow My Fuse, it was Midnight Dynamite. And Beau Hill was the producer of that project. And a lot of people kind of went back after they discovered Kix and looked back at the earlier catalog. And some people like that album almost as much. I don't know how you could like it as much. But it's a good album. And it's not as good as Blow My Fuse, but that track is electric. Midnight Dynamite. Number 4. And one of the reasons that this song is higher, the album itself, I think, it was kind of a comeback for Alice Cooper. It's the album Constrictor. I think it's got some really high points, but to me, there's a little filler in it. Now, of course, eventually you ramp it back up and you get to the album Trash with Poison and, House of Fire and all that kind of stuff. It's electric. But the lead track on this album was Teenage Frankenstein. Of course, Alice and the band still play that live. It's been great. They don't play it every show, but they play a lot. And so I think of that album, the one that Beau Hill produced for Alice, that's probably the shining moment. All right, number 3. And you wouldn't know it to look at them. No, you would. You would. They're definitely a Beau Hill band. And when people found out that Beau Hill was producing this band, they thought, this is going to be great. You got some guys that are extremely talented. You got some guys that are great on stage, and the girls love them. We're talking about Winger. And I don't know, miss me with the Beavis and Butthead stuff. Reb Beach, the guitar player, I liked him so much when I was young, I almost considered naming Ani Reb. And I thought, there's no way that a Mississippi State guy can have a son named Rebel or Reb. You just can't do it. You can't do it. So we didn't do that. And I'm sure he's happy that he's Ani. But it would have been for Reb Beach. Reb Beach is phenomenal, in the words of Ben Howland. So you know what song we're going with, right? We're going with 17. I don't know if it's legal to play that song anymore. Maybe you have to only listen to it like in your car with all the windows rolled up and the lights turned off. I don't know. Or maybe in your bed with the covers over your head. I don't know. But yeah, the verbiage back then, it was a little different. But see, the thing that I don't think a lot of you guys understand is like Kip Winger wasn't singing to a girl. He was like singing for us, like for the listener, right? But I get it if you're a little creeped out. Number 2. And probably the band that made Beau Hill. And what I mean by that is we needed the new wave of early 80s rock. We needed a band like this. I mean, you knew Motley, there was like this whole changing of the guard. Motley kind of took things forward, kind of in the Black Sabbath vein, at least with the image and the look and all the imagery and things like that. But we needed another harder rock radio-friendly band. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of people are going to be talking about a new year means a new you. Well, that's not necessarily the case. How about a less burdened you? Therapy can help more easily identify what weighs you down and holds you back by offering a very unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, your motivations, and your emotions. I'm a person that absolutely believes in therapy. I think everybody needs someone they can tell everything to. Perhaps you're in that situation too. We're going to ask you to give our friends at BetterHelp an opportunity to help you deal with the triggers in life and the hang-ups, the heartbreaks. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up today and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com. That's better, HELP.com. It doesn't have to be this way. It could be a better version of yourself and a better version of life. Visit BetterHelp.com today. You ever Googled yourself? You may be alarmed to note exactly how much of your private information and data is out there for anybody to access. Whether it be your phone number, your home address, or details about your family. It could be your kids' names, their ages. Whether you agree to this disclosure or not. And that's because data brokers are collecting and selling your information to marketers, scammers, and basically anyone willing to pay. It's the reason robocallers know your name, and while ads seem to follow you on every digital platform out there. Well, Aura fights back for you. They remove your personal data from broker sites and keep it off. Aura also alerts you fast if your information shows up in a data breach or on the dark web. But Aura is more than just data broker removal. It's a full digital security suite that protects every part of your life online. Aura gives you a VPN to stay private, antivirus to block threats, a password manager to keep all your logins safe, and they even give you spam call protection to cut off those stupid scammers. Aura also scans the dark web regularly for your most sensitive information like your social security number, bank logins, passwords, and they will notify you instantly if you are somehow exposed. If your identity is ever stolen, you're backed up by up to $5 million in insurance and 24/7 U.S.-based fraud support to help you recover everything quickly. Other services charge about the same, but they only cover one or two areas. With Aura, you get it all. Data broker removal, credit and identity monitoring, device protection, and fraud support, all with one simple app. Aura removes what is already exposed, protects what isn't, and puts you back in control. Right now, you can try Aura free for 14 days when you visit aura.com/remove. That gives them plenty of time to go ahead and start protecting your data. They can remove your personal information from data broker sites. Sign up today at aura.com/remove and get the peace of mind that your privacy, identity, and finances are all safeguarded. That's Aura, AURA.com/remove. Certain terms and conditions apply. Be sure and check it out today at aura.com. And Bo Hill delivered with Rat. Of course, Rat had that EP, the independent EP, and of course they recorded back for more on the EP and on Out of the Cellar, and that's Tawny Katane on the front, just in case you've forgotten, on both albums. But it's Round and Round, your number 2 track. And how anybody could not like this song, it's just incredible to me. And it's so funny how life works these days. Then when they did that Geico commercial, they said we've got a little bit of a rat problem, and then like rats playing round and round in the kitchen, which is great marketing. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, that's a great song. That's a real band? Yep. And so Rat kind of got a bit of a resurgence. Number 1, though. And you may not know it to look at her, but Our Lady Stevie Nicks can really, really sing. And an incredible person, an incredible face, an incredible voice. I just don't know what there is to dislike about Stevie Nicks. And like her fashion sense has always just been so incredibly on point. But you wouldn't even know about that if she couldn't just belt and wail like nobody else. And so Bo Hill worked with her on the Wild Heart album, which was the follow-up to Belladonna, which is a lot of people consider the Stevie Nicks album. But your number 1 track today is probably the biggest hit off that Wild Heart album. It's Stand Back. Stand Back. I thought the video was a little bit weird, though. Like the way they had her walking on his platform shoes looked a little bit weird, you know. That's just my feeling. But that's your top 10 list, brought to you by Kalito Guitars. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samonte on X at Dogmatic67. You should be up to date now on Spotify because you can find our great list on Spotify under that same handle. We're just making it a little bit easier for you to access cool music, right? So instead of you having to go hunt and find it, we're giving it to you. Just go hit the subscribe button on Roy's Spotify, and our list will auto-populate when he gets the opportunity to upload them. So thanks as always for your support of the top 10 list. You can find me on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. We love Campus Bookmart. We do. We love them because they have the things we want. And what do we want? More Mississippi State merch. You want it. I want it. Your friends want it. Your neighbors want it. Your coworkers want it. And so the next time it's a gift buying opportunity, think of Campus Bookmart first, because every Bulldog is going to be happy to open up some maroon and white packaging and find more maroon and white inside. Yeah. So next time you're in town, go by and see their smiling faces. If you can't make it to town, or perhaps game day is a difficult shopping day for you, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays, and that is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. All right, we've already referenced it a little bit. It was a clanker of a weekend, right? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because, like all of you, I'm not going to be fair-weathered about it. But when we get our butts beat, I don't want to spend a lot of time breaking it down, and you don't want to spend a lot of time listening to it, right? But we'll start with the men. And now 10-6, and the losing streak is now 1 because our winning streak got snapped. And I really thought we would go up there and play a competitive game. Kentucky's been scuffling a little bit. I knew that, as I said on the show, we probably had to be 10, 15, 20 points better because you're not going to get a call up there. But, man, you look out early in this ball game, and you're like, man, State's taking it to them. And there was a time that Kentucky fans were booing their own team on their own floor. And you're like, hey, this is going to happen, because every boo becomes essentially a cheer for Mississippi State. Guys, we're up 18-6 in this ball game. And like all of you, I know they're going to make a run, but we should be good enough to withstand it. Well, unfortunately, we weren't. We did take it back out to an 11-point lead after they made a bit of a run at 24-13. We traded baskets for a while. And the next thing you know, Kentucky just starts inching back, and the crowd gets back. All of a sudden, they like them again. The crowd just kind of gets behind them. And next thing you know, they pull even and ahead on a Jasper Johnson three-pointer with 8 minutes to go in the half. And from there, it was pretty much all Kentucky, right? They ended up winning the first half 44-39. Think about that for a second. We're up 18-6. And we're down 5 at the break. And in the second half, they came out with purpose and absolutely demolished us. They outscored us 48-29 in the second half to win the game 92-68. Like all of you, it's very disconcerting, right? I mean, listen, we know we don't have a great team. We think we have the potential to have a good team, and we played pretty well at times. But when you get a Kentucky team like this, you don't get this Kentucky team that often. A team that is struggling a little bit, the fans are uneasy, and you get a chance to go up there and you get the big lead, and then you can't do anything with it. Disappointing. Looking back at the numbers, Josh Hubbard with 20, Jaden Epps with 13. Good to see him kind of return to 4. And it's Chore kind of coming on here in SEC play. 11 rebounds, 13 points. I don't know what's changed with him, but it's clear that the staff has kind of found a way to get him going. 5 rebounds and 6 points for Quincy Ballard. He played 22 minutes. Sean Jones, just a pair of points there. And, from there, there just wasn't much to feel good about. State actually shot it well, 48%. You'd think you saw that number. Hey, State shoots almost 50%. They're up 12 early. You'd think, oh, how bad we beat Kentucky? Well, we didn't. And we couldn't buy a basket from 3 of 20. And give them some credit, too, for getting out, closing out on shooters. We shot 78% from the free throw line. But 44 points in the paint, 14 off the bench. That's not good. You're not going to win just getting 14 off the bench. And, the bottom line is we did not play well enough This is a very talented Kentucky team. We talked about Awe. Hey, he would be a problem. He was. He scored 22. Moreno had 17. We talked about him being a guy that very good as a shooter. He's 8 of 10 from the floor. We actually did a decent job, I guess, defending the three, just 9 of 22 for them. But we just got beat. And they're a little bit better than us. But, sometimes it's easy to reconcile that and say, well, we just got beat by a better team. I just don't think they're that much better than us. But they looked at that night. And give Mark Pope and that staff a lot of credit for kind of getting them fired up, because I was holding my breath, but I thought we had a real shot. We'll take the Alabama Crimson Tide on tomorrow, and of course that's another great team. There's a part of me, I don't know if we win, but I feel like we respond. I think you're going to see us respond. Chris Jans has got a switch, I guess, that he flips when we get embarrassed, and that was one of the things early on, is that we just kind of avoided that with Chris Jans. It's like, even though we didn't win, we were always like there. Alabama's 11-5. They're 1-1 in true road games. So we need a hostile environment. We do. Kind of looking back at what they've done, they won a barn burner of a game to open this thing up in Birmingham against Florida State, 109-105. Then they get Furman in North Dakota. They win at St. John's, who was ranked 5th at the time, 103-96. You're seeing a lot of gaudy points there. Purdue gets them 87-80 in Tuscaloosa. No shame in that loss, but that's an environment I'm sure that was absolutely incredible. They get number 8 Illinois in Chicago, not Champaign, but in Chicago. Big crowd that night. Bama wins at 90-86. And then Gonzaga, who's been really good. First round of the Players Era Festival. Gonzaga gets them by 10, 95-85. They bounce back to get UNLV and Maryland. Man, a lot of games with them scoring 100-plus points or getting right at it. They get Clemson 90-84. Blowout UTSA. They go to the CM Newton Classic, and they lose to Arizona. It's played in Birmingham. But they lose to Arizona, and they got beat in this ball game, 21 points. Now, Arizona's going to make a lot of people look bad, but that's a couple of measuring sticks with Arizona and Purdue that maybe this Alabama team's not quite ready to contend. We'll see. They get South Florida 104-93, and again, another game. A lot of points scored in these games, for and against. They get Kennesaw State, Yale, and we get an SEC play. And, of course, they beat Yale by going over 100. They get Kentucky by 15 at their place, and then they go to Nashville and get beat there. And then they get Texas at home, and they get beat there. So they've lost 2 straight. They're 1-2 in the SEC. We're going to get their best shot. Hopefully we have learned some things on film that will prepare us to compete in a way. There have been times that, with Alabama like last year, we should have won that game last year, as you guys know. We blew a dunk late. It never comes down to that, but, man, it came down to that, right? That's how it felt. But look at their numbers here. Philon's still there, 21.2 points. Aiden Holloway, 18.6. Amari Allen with 11.6. Latrell Wrightsell with 10.8. But it goes on from there, right? They got 2 other scores right at double figures, scoring in the 9s. And then they got a couple more scoring in the 7s. So this is a team that's going pretty deep into the bench. The starters carry a lot of the scoring load, but it's not limited to those guys. It's not like you can get 1 or 2 of those guys in foul trouble and feel like that, hey, this thing's going to run off the tracks. But as usual, Alabama can shoot it, and as usual, they're shooting a ton of threes. Their opponents have shot 364 threes. Bama has shot 554. Tide's shooting right at 36%. They're giving it right at 33%. So they're gonna shoot from the rafters. They always do. And we don't always do the best job closing out on shooters. We had some good moments last year against them. We just couldn't finish the game. It's as simple as that. Rebounding has been maybe a bit of a challenge for them. But because they're pretty much even with their opponents. And so that's where, maybe a chore, and, some of those other guys deeper in the post can make some plays for us, even if they're not great scoring options, just on the defensive rebounding side of things, if I can speak today. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a difficult ball game, and the good thing is it's here. But the bad thing is it's a team that has kind of owned us the last several years, and so not exactly what you want. But hopefully the Bulldogs can find a way. At some point, you break the curse, right? Maybe this is the opportunity. On the ladies' side, we got spanked pretty good there too, and of course there's a lot of people already off the bandwagon. I'm not, because I didn't expect this team to beat a lot of the top teams in this conference. I thought we would beat our contemporaries and find a way to get there around 500. I didn't expect to go compete for a national championship, and maybe that's something wrong with me that I view the program that way, but that's how I feel. But ladies get smacked in Oxford. And I hate losing to Ole Miss in anything, but they're better than us. They are. They are better than us. And Coach Yo has got them in a much better situation. And, Vic Schaefer owned Ole Miss. But Coach Yo has kind of flipped the script. There was a time we dominated the rivalry. There was a time they did. And now it's like it's their turn again. But looking back at this, man, we just didn't do much. We just simply didn't do much. And we came out shooting it pretty well, right? And then they kind of tightened things up. And really kind of the decisive moment in this ball game was that second quarter. They made 13 made baskets. We made 6. And then they came out in the third quarter and played even better defense and held us to 4 of 17. Guys, the game is over at that point. There's no need to even play the fourth quarter unless you just want to get some time for somebody. But Ole Miss was up 4 after 1, and then they put on 11 more points to that lead to make it a 15-point lead at the break. The next thing you know, it's away from us. It is. And, hey, give them credit. Not going to sit here and talk poorly about them. They were a better team and they beat us. And it's kind of how it is. But Favor Nwadazi with 14 points, Madison Francis with 15, Chandler Prater with 15. Nice to see her have a good game like that. Destiny McFall with a dozen. We just couldn't get stops defensively. So the Bulldogs fall in their road trip to Oxford. Bulldogs now 14-4, have lost 3 in a row. And we talked about we were going to find out a lot about this team in the early portion of this conference schedule, and we are. I'm curious to see how much fight we have. The game against Auburn, hey, that was great. We expected to win the game. We run it with a little margin, and we got smacked at Oklahoma. Now, granted, we beat Oklahoma here last year. They probably had that game circled. And then Tennessee comes in. It's a game for a while, but we could just never get over the hump. But this Ole Miss game, after that first quarter, we were just never in the ball game. Now, on Thursday, and we'll talk about this game more on Wednesday's show, you got number 5 Vanderbilt coming in here. So it doesn't get any easier. Again, you still got 4 more top 20 opponents to go, and then you get a little bit of a break with Missouri, and then you got to go to South Carolina. This team is going to have to kind of make their hay in the back half of the schedule. And we're going to have to upset somebody, and Sam Purcell's found a way to do that. But, the reality of it is we have not played well, and some of you said you saw it coming. Maybe that's fair. But to be honest with you, I'm surprised at some of the margins, if that makes sense. I thought we'd be able to score. I thought maybe some teams would be a little more athletic than us and beat us in the break. I thought we'd be able to score with a little more proficiency in league play. But we have struggled to score against the top half of this league in league play. So Sam's got it figured out. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, bar none, especially when you're bringing a large group to town. Now, if you just want to go by yourself, you can. It's going to be the same price, but you could go by yourself, but it wouldn't be nearly as much fun, right? So I would encourage you to Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Their Facebook page will pop up for you. You can peruse all the pictures of all the amenities available to you and your guest. Plenty of parking. Plenty of parking. That's always a challenge. Like when you're staying at an Airbnb, sometimes you got to park down the street or you got to pay to park. You don't have to pay to park here. Plenty of parking. Full service kitchen, wet bar, amazing back porch area. Incredible. You can sit out there, have a cocktail, watch the sunset. Beautiful. Sit out there in the morning, cup of coffee, watch sunrise. If that's your thing, you can do that too. And then there's the fire pit area. Great situation for you this time of year. 6 bedrooms, 2, soon to be 3 baths. Be sure and check it out. Now, when you do that Google search, You're going to have some booking options pop up. You can book through Airbnb. You can book through VRBO. Completely up to you. But if you want to save some money, and I know you do, book through the Evolve website and use promo code BSR10. That's BSR, the number 10. BSR10 gets you 10% off your stay. Just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus, you can do your tailgating right there. So whether you're coming from a baseball ball game weekend or perhaps a midweek trip just to kind of get away, this is a great opportunity for you. We've stayed there, had a blast. You will too. The Stark Vegas Clubhouse, plenty of peace and quiet out there for you and your guests. Be sure and check it out today. Okay. The D1 baseball poll has come out. Now, nothing against the folks at Baseball America, but I usually use the D1 baseball rankings because Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers, Mark Etheridge, the whole staff, they actually get out and go. Joe Healy, those guys are my buddies. They go to games. They're not sitting at home watching like simulcast or watching it online. They're at games. And I respect that, and that's the reason that I use their rankings. So let's go ahead and get it started. Number 25 is Texas A&M. Now, the Aggies finished 30-26 last year. They got hot late, as we know, but they got hot late. Finished the year non-ranked. They're ranked 25. I think, honestly, there is a little bit of maybe a personal bias in this. I don't think A&M's a top 25 team. Now, I may be proven wrong, but I don't think so. Now, we'll end the year going out there, and I don't think they'll be ranked by the time we get there. Number 24, some folks that we met last year down in Houston, it's Arizona, finished the year ranked number 7. They're 24 this year. 144 games a year ago, should be a quality team. Vanderbilt at 23. They finished the year ranked 18. They come in at 23. I'm not sold on this Vanderbilt team. Now, I think they're going to be able to pitch it pretty well. I just don't think they did enough in the portal in relation to their peers. I think the SEC, by and large, outside of maybe Missouri, most everybody did a better job in the portal than Vanderbilt. We'll see. Miami finished last year ranked 16th, and of course they flamed out in postseason. They entered this year at 22, and Miami's Miami. Especially in that conference, they'll have some dudes that'll find a way to win some ball games, and they'll be in the discussion probably middle of the year in the regional hosting opportunities, but I think they'll probably be a number 2. Wake Forest at 21. I think this is a bit of a stretch. Do we not realize that Corey Muscara left for Duke and took a lot of their players with him? I'm just not sold on Wake Forest. I'm not buying it. I'm not ready to do it. And maybe you see it differently, but they've moved on. But they've kind of got a sneaky good NIL situation there. Again, finished non-ranked last year, 21 to start. Southern Miss, probably one of the best mid-major programs in the country. And we know we play them every year. It's a very, very good team. They always have a couple guys that give you trouble. It's always a game that we expect to win. We split with them last year. We're going to play a home-and-home again this year, which is good for RPI purposes. They finished last year at 22. After winning 47 games, they're going to start this year at 20. They lost some interesting pieces, but I think with their schedule and their tradition, they should be okay. Clemson at 19 finished last year at 23. They won 45 games. But a lot of that, too, if you go look at the non-conference, that they played a really weak non-conference schedule. Other than them playing South Carolina, who wasn't good last year, it's not great. They rarely ever play a marquee team. And maybe some of it's geographical restrictions. I don't know. But Clemson, a lot of people are fired up about them. I'm just not sure. And to be honest with you, my buddy Nick Mingione coming in at 18, they finished the year last year not ranked. It may be the best coaching job he'd ever done. They finished the year 31-26, but the year before they went to Omaha and lost pretty much everybody. They returned just one starter and found a way to make a regional. Number 17, the Wolfpack. And this is another one, too. It's like they kind of get, I don't know, maybe get a pass or benefit of the doubt because that staff is so good. And North Carolina has become a very baseball-rich state. And I think Wake's rise to prominence has probably hurt both UNC and NC State because a lot of players that used to go to those schools have gone to Wake. So instead of having two major schools up there, and Duke too you can throw in. So I think the Duke and Wake Forest's ascension in college baseball has hurt NC State and North Carolina. But I really like the NC State staff. They'll be a scrappy bunch, but probably a 2 somewhere. Number 16 is Florida State. Finished last year at number 10, as you guys know. They won 42 games. I didn't think they were better than us. We just didn't make some plays. And the scoreboard says they're better than us. That's all we can live with. But the reality of it is, I think the talent differential wasn't nearly as expansive as some would expect. I like playing Florida State. We played them in the scrimmage earlier this year. We split those 2 games. I'd love to see them in the postseason. Number 15 is Georgia. They finished last year with 19 in the rankings. Won 43 games. And, of course, they were a team for 2 years. A lot of people said, hey, Georgia. But, man, they have just not done much in the postseason. Wes Johnson's together knows how to develop pitching. They're always going to attract pitching. They're in a talent-rich state. There's no reason Georgia should ever be bad at baseball. And I think, though, this is probably where they are. Right? Maybe in the mix to host again, but I think it's probably going to maybe need a game or 2 in the SEC tournament to ensure that. Tennessee at 14, and this is one of those rankings here where I think you just don't know what to do with them. Finished the year 12. Tony Vitello leaves. Frank leaves. A bunch of players leave. They do have a decent portal class. I'm just not sold on Josh Ellender. It's so difficult. Ask Mike Earls at A&M what it's like to get promoted from within and then have to operate under the weight of those expectations. I don't think Tennessee is a top 15 team. Do they have some mashers? Yes. But I think the bloom is going to be off the rose a little bit there. Florida at 13. And I don't know what it is about D1 baseball in Florida. Man, they always rank them high. Remember a couple of years ago, they basically had a losing record and were still ranked. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They finished the year 39 and 22, and they had a good portal class, not great when you think about what Mississippi State and Tennessee and others did, Georgia for that matter. But Kevin O'Sullivan's situation, I think, is just something to watch. The weight of the personal problems that have been very well documented, you just wonder how plugged in Sully's going to be. But you know what? He's a competitor. He may find a way to get it done. Oregon State finished the year number 4. They're 12. And, of course, they lost Iva. And they lost a lot of pieces. But Oregon State is in my estimation, and I think most people would argue, they are the premier team out west. Premier. They've consistently done it. They've won national championships. They go 48-16-1 last year. There'll be another team that'll win 50 games this year and will probably be in the mix for a top 8 national seed. I think there are some teams ahead of them that are probably not as good. And that starts with number 11, North Carolina. I think North Carolina, again, they're going to be good pitching-wise. Finished last year number 9. I think last year was probably the year for them to make a big run. They didn't quite get it done. Won 46 games last year. And again, I've got a lot of respect for the top 3 or 4 programs in the ACC. I like NC State a little bit better than North Carolina. I just do. I think that's going to be a big series. And I think that may determine some things. But I think North Carolina is probably in the mix to host. I don't know that they can ascend to a top 8. Number 10 is TCU. You go from not ranked to 10 in the country. I don't know that I buy that either, to be quite honest with you. I think you've got to earn it. I don't think you can portal your way into the top 25. It's my personal opinion. Now, Mississippi State's situation is a little bit different, and we'll talk about that shortly. Auburn finished last year number 11. They're going to start as preseason number 9. I think Auburn is a team last year that was deserving of a top 8 national seed. They got it. They didn't take full advantage of it. But it was a great season for Auburn and for Butch. We still should have won that series over there. And, of course, we fired Chris Simonis the Monday after that series. But the reality of it is Auburn's going to be able to pitch it. They're really good in their own ballpark, too. They're kind of built for that park. Number 8 is Louisville, and I think Dan McDonnell's kind of gotten over a little bit of malaise for a couple of years. Louisville was great, contending for some things, getting to Omaha, and then you just didn't hear much from them. Well, they finished number 6 last year. They're number 8 this year, and bring back a lot of pieces from last year. I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think Louisville is a team, obviously, that could make a run. Because I like Dan McDonnell, and I've had some personal conversations with Dan, and I can tell you he is an impressive guy. He makes you want to play hard for him. I think that program is probably back. Number 7, Arkansas. Finished last year number 3 in the country. They won 50 games, but, man, they lost so much positionally. They lost a ton. Now, pitching-wise, they should be good. I really think so. Gakel, those guys, they got some big arms. They got to stay healthy. I don't know there's a lot of depth in that pitching staff, and I don't mean from a talent standpoint. I mean from an experience standpoint. There are some very young and talented arms that are going to have a chance to pitch some big innings for them, and they're going to need those guys to perform well. I think that will determine if Arkansas is a top 8 or just a regional host. Right now, I would say a regional host. I think Dave Van Horn is one of the best coaches in all of college baseball. And I think as long as he is there, Arkansas is going to be a factor in this thing. So, and I like Dave Van Horn. I know some of you guys like to root against Arkansas. I like to see good baseball, and Arkansas plays a good brand of baseball. Didn't have a lot of offensive stars last year. But Aloy, of course, obviously had a big season for them. And, now you got to replace all those guys. Coastal Carolina played for a NAFL championship and finished the year number 2. They're number 6 right now. Return a lot of pieces. They will make a bunch of racket. But you heard it here first. Kevin Schnall will not be at Coastal in 2027. Kevin Schnall, I think, will take a big-time job. Now, he's in a great situation now, and he nearly got the Tennessee job. And then there was some discussion, pulled back, and then there's a lot of people that think in the event that Florida makes a change this year, that Kevin Schnall from Coastal is going to be the head coach of Florida. And I would say that makes a lot of sense. When you have won at the level they have at Coastal Carolina, when you're a Sun Belt team and you can still go compete with some of the best teams in the country, and they smashed Southern Miss last year. But 56-13, that's a very loud record. And, of course, when you play all the way up to nearly July 4th weekend, that's going to happen. Number 5 is Georgia Tech. Finished last year 24th. They returned some pieces. And, again, I think there's a little bit of ACC bias with this pick. I think, hey, we can't have the SEC just dominating the top 10. And so Georgia Tech, 41-19 last year. And I don't know why Georgia Tech's ever bad in baseball. I mean, you're in Atlanta, for crying out loud, right? And you're basically an ag school. You ought to be able to go get some blue-collar guys that can play. It's going to boil down to pitching with them. And that's the thing when you look at the book with them. Do they have enough arms? Can they close it out consistently on the back end? That's going to determine the quality of their season. I'm not buying the top 8 national seed for them. I do not think they're a top 8 program, even what they have coming back. Now, they may have some pieces that surprise us, but I'm not buying that. Number 4, your Bulldogs. Now, we go from non-ranked after a 36-23 season to 4th in the country. The difference is Mississippi State has a strong nucleus returning and essentially a super team because you got some of the best players from Virginia to transfer in with Brian O'Connor, and now you have one of the best coaches in college baseball with arguably an embarrassment of riches when it comes to a roster. We're going to be really good. Offensively, I think we're going to be elite. If Charlie Foster and if Ryan McPherson take the jump that we expect, I do think Mississippi State is absolutely going to Omaha. And I do think this team is capable of winning a national championship. I'll go ahead and say it. Provided you can stay healthy on the mound and you get some young arms to grow up the way that State should be able to score, and the veterans that you have on this team, like Ace Reese, Noah Sullivan, Aiden Teal, you're not going to have a lot of nervous bats in the box. So you should be able to score. You should be able to consistently score. Now, SEC Friday nights are always something, but I don't think anybody wants to face us Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So I feel great about our team. Number 3 is Texas. A lot of people like Jim Schlossnagle. Here's the thing I'll tell you about Texas. They are probably, outside of maybe Florida, and you could make an argument for Georgia, but I would say Texas is probably number 2. Probably the greatest baseball recruiting footprint in the country, and that includes California. Because kids in California don't go to California schools, right? They come south. Texas, everybody in Texas wants to go to Texas unless you grew up an Aggie. You want to go to Texas. And so they get the pick of the litter in a talent-rich state. So Texas should always be a power. I mean, we saw that with Augie Garrido and Gustafson and everybody else. Texas just has a brand that is a national brand. And that's why when we beat them, it's always such a big deal. We'll head to Austin this year for the first time since '83. They finished last year ranked 17th. You remember they kind of fell apart down the stretch. And they win the SEC, and then it's like everything just kind of falls apart for them. Volantis will be back. Big-time arm. I'm curious to see how they use him. Is he a Friday night starter? Do they keep him in the pen? We'll see. Number 2 is LSU. They win an AFL championship. You get the benefit of the doubt. Jay Johnson may be the best coach in baseball right now, at least from roster management. The guy's an incredible competitor. LSU is going to be LSU. I don't think they're the number 2 team in the country. I really don't. And I think maybe just because of the benefit of being the defending NAFL champion and Jay Johnson being such an astute coach with 53 wins to his credit last year and 2 of the last 3 NAFL championships, it's a safe pick. Number 1, though, is UCLA. Going to have the premier shortstop in the country. Going to have one of the best rotations in the country. They finished number 5 last year, and that was with some younger guys stepping up. Well, a lot of those guys are back. And now they've got a year of experience under their belt. So UCLA, your number 1 team. So we will see them out at Globe Life in the month of March. So that's kind of my breakdown of the top 25. And I can't wait for the season. Guys, it's February 13th, man. It's January 12th today. We're right at a month away from college baseball. So we'll get through the portal stuff, be able to catch our breath a little bit, hopefully win some basketball games along the way. And then we're going to have Valentine's Day weekend baseball as the Bulldogs take on Hofstra. So we encourage you to kind of make your plans now. Maybe come spend Valentine's Day with us. And a lot of girls love diamonds, right? Because diamonds are forever, right? That's what the sign says. But I can tell you, my bride prefers the baseball diamond over some flashy tennis bracelet. That's just the truth. And it's one of the things I love about her is how much she loves college baseball. She loves it all. Soccer, everything. When we're playing ball, she's watching. But she kind of lives and breathes baseball. We'll be home during the midweek, and she'll say, hey, I saw on the ESPN upcoming thing that so-and-so is playing midweek game tonight. Don't we play them in a couple weeks? Let's watch that. You got to love it, man. I mean, she's hot, she's sexy, and she loves college baseball, and she's not just a casual observer of the sport. She used to keep book for me when I was a baseball coach years ago in the high school ranks in Baton Rouge, and just kind of fell in love with the game. And she wanted to know how this stuff works and what does all this stuff mean. And there are some people in the media I've joked with before, not mean-spiritedly. I just made the comment. I said, one of these days, just ask Dana what a two-seam fastball does from a right-hander to a right-hander. And why would you want to throw it in what situation? She knows because she asks all these questions. She's like a sponge. She loves it. She's been to the Baseball Women's Clinic, had a blast. Went with our friend Ashley Jones, who was on, what was the Gator show? I can't think of Swamp People, yes. We love Chad and Ashley, and don't get to see them enough. That's kind of how life is. There's people that you like a lot. You just don't always get a chance to make time for them. And saw them at a football game, and I was like hustling to get the post game, and halfway goes out, Steve, and then Chad grabs me, and I get to hug everybody's neck. And unfortunately, that's what life is sometimes, right? It's a little rush thing, and hey, love you. I text me every now and again, just checking in with you guys, how you're doing. And it's one of those things too. She's so prolific on Facebook. I always kind of feel like I'm caught up. Like this morning, she posted a picture of her and Chad was so stoked to take the picture. And you should be, right? I mean, you got a beautiful wife that's very talented. You got 3 great kids. Got a thriving law practice. But I love them. I do. And I think it's one of those things you kind of work through in life. And it's important to understand that like baseball and football and basketball, we get a chance to kind of come together and congregate as a family. That's a great thing, man. It's a great thing to have a shared interest. That there's some other things in life that we talked about, man, that may just cause an argument, right? I mean, sometimes sports itself causes an argument. But, man, there's nothing better when we're winning and everybody is just happy. It's like, you know what, I may not be happy about this, that, or the other, but I'm happy about this. I'm getting enjoyment in my life from Mississippi State sports, and I think Mississippi State baseball is going to bring a lot of enjoyment to you and your family this year. And I hope that you can come take in a game or two or a 50, right? I hope that you get a chance to take part in that. That's one of the things growing up, man, it's so different nowadays with a digital ticket. Man, I've got every ticket of every ball game my dad ever took me to. I got every one of them. Every one of them. Somewhere around here. I've got them all. And I got all the paper tickets of the games that I took Ani to because it matters to me. It's a moment in time, right? And I've got every lanyard of every ball game I've ever covered. I've kept them all. And people ask me, why do you keep all that stuff? I said, one day my grandkids are going to look at this and say, you know what? Papa Steve lived a great life. Papa Steve saw a lot of cool stuff. Papa Steve got out and lived, right? That stuff's important to me. But I've earned those things, right? And that's the way that I feel about it. I make the effort to go to those ball games. I'm going to keep the lanyard because you never know when Mississippi State is going to win a game of significance. And one of the coolest things that I have in my possession, I don't have the national championship Omaha Daily Herald paper. I don't have that. Omaha World. I've got the Game 2 win when we came back and we forced Game 3. And Kellum Clark and Cameron James, two of the best kids I've ever covered. And I have that paper with pictures of both of them from the paper framed with my College World Series credential. And it means so much to me. Nobody else has that, right? It is a piece of Mississippi State memorabilia that nobody has. Because I guarantee you nobody else framed Day 2. I did because it mattered to me. It did. I could have went and got the little glossy thing like everybody else, but I wanted something that had personal significance to me. And I love Greg James and that whole family. And I love David Clark and his family. I love them. And I've got a cowbell that Kellum Clark and his brother KK wanted me to have. And I get emotional thinking about this. But David brought it by, and it's a bat handle from one of those boys with a cowbell with number 11. And we have it up at Spa. But it means a lot to me because that family means a lot to me. And Mississippi State baseball means a lot to me. But I got to get out of here because the bride got home a little bit early. And she made some red beans and rice. And I haven't had those in about 2 months. So I'm going to go grab a bowl and a spoon and a bottle of Tabasco. And I'm going to go to work on some red beans. I hope that you guys are great. And I hope life is great. And everything around you is coming up the way you want it to. If it's not, don't be afraid to ask for help. As we share on this show many times, if you're considering harming yourself or somebody else, dial 988 or text 988. There is help available. But I can promise you this, people love you. People love you. I love you. Even if we've never met, I love you. The fact that you tune in and listen to me for your entertainment, your information about Mississippi State sports, it means a lot to me. It does. And I want to make sure that I get so lost in this sometimes. I think about our military families. And the one thing that I think, number one, in addition to the fact that they're in harm's way, protecting my life and your life and the people that I love's life, like that in and of itself, that sacrifice is always worthy of recognition. Always. But I think about the wife and the kids back home, or maybe the husband back home. And I think about every night they go to bed, right? There's always that lingering worry, right? And so for those military families, I don't say it enough on this show, but I love you guys too. And I want each and every one of you to be safe and come back home and have a great holiday season. And I get plumb teary-eyed, man, when I see those videos. I could watch them all day. Those videos of, like, mom and dad coming back and surprising the kid at school. You know what I'm talking about. It gets you the same place it gets me. But, like, I see the way that those kids react. And there's something in that says a lot about the human condition. And it's that we need each other. We need each other. No man is an island. No woman is an island either. But I love when they set these things up and they surprise the family. And all of a sudden dad just comes running across a football field or walks in and, plays a joke on somebody, or, an older brother comes home and drops by the school. But the emotional reaction from their loved ones is something that is like food for the soul, man, because it reminds me that there are people that love me that way. And fortunately, they don't have to worry as much about me, but there are people that love you that way too. And maybe nobody's really broken it down for you like that, but the reality of it is sometimes we get so caught up day to day, paying bills and running errands, and there's just so many stressors in the world, and sometimes we just don't say it enough, man. We don't say we love each other. And there have been times recently, I'll be laying in bed watching TV, and I'll just pause the TV, and I'll just roll over, and I'll just tell Dana, I love you, and I would choose you every time. I would choose you every single time, through the bad, the good, everything. I am who I am today because of her. As I wrote in When the Bottom Falls, she has never been in my shadow. She has always been the light to my path. And that's not just some cheesy line. That's how I feel. Now, that's not going to say that every day that she's, all peaches and cream. There's some days when we rub each other the wrong way, but I can't remember the last time we fought. I can't remember the last time we even had a disagreement. Another day she rolled over, and she said this right before we got married. And I haven't heard her say it since then. Not that there was a problem or anything like that, but she rolled over and she said, isn't it so great that we get to hang out? She's like, we just got a built-in best friend. That's an incredible thing, and I hope that you have that in your life. And again, marriage is for grown folks. I'll tell you that too. That it's been very trying at times too, for both of us. But at the end of the day, you come back to each other, you love each other, and you find a way to work through it. One of the biggest lessons that I learned from my grandparents, my grandmother said this, and I've shared it with you guys before. I never saw my grandparents fight, and I lived with them for 8 years of my life. I never saw them fight. And one day she told me, I said, I never even heard you guys, like, you raise your voice. And she goes, well, baby, sometimes we did. We just didn't do it around you. And I said, well, what did y'all do when y'all couldn't agree? She said, we just go sit on the couch and hold hands and love our way through it. And man, what a beautiful legacy and testimony that is. If you haven't done so, visit DutyNobleBook.com, and you get signed copies of all my sports titles. Of course, that's Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, Dog Pile, The Dude, and you get the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls. Come join us over at genespage.com. The spa has been rolling, by the way, and so if you're looking to float, you need to schedule, but we're doing around 20 to 25 floaters a day. Things are going really well, and so you need to find out what all the fuss is about. You can visit TrueRest.com, or better yet, for a little more personal service, call Dana at 662-268-7601. 662-268-7601. Get all your questions answered about floating. It has changed my life. It absolutely has, and so many others around here. It's so rewarding to see the same faces coming in month after month after month and say, you know what, Steve, this has just become a regular part of my life. And I love that for them, and I love that we were able to bring that to them. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.